Welcome to the last video, and this problem at first looks like the rest of them, but before you start these, you should often ask yourself, is there something I can do to make my life a little easier? And if you remember from the last 2 days, we had this thing called factor completely, and we make a big deal of it at first because you're not used to doing more than one step at once. But eventually, they're not going to tell you to factor completely, or they will, and it's going to be any number of different steps. But generally, it means there's more than one step to the factoring process. And in this one, you can do some GCF factoring first, and that's going to make the rest of the problem easier, actually. So it's good that we can do GCF first. So if you look at the 6, the 4, and the 16, can't pull a 4 out of the 6, so we're going to have to stick with 2. So we're going to pull a 2 out. So we get 2 parentheses 3x squared minus 2x minus 8. So that 2 is going to remain a factor throughout the whole thing, and we're really just going to focus on what's inside the parentheses from here on out. So just like the last one, I'm going to lose the 3. I'm just going to write x squared minus 2x, and instead of minus 8, I'm going to write 3 times negative 8, which is negative 24. So here we go. Factors of 24, which there are many, for such a small number has quite a few factors. Which one, though, has a sum of negative 2? Now, 24 is a negative number, so they're going to be opposite signs. I'm going to have one positive and one negative. And they can only be 2 apart, so their difference has to be 2. So that eliminates 8 times 3. 6 times 4, that's the one that we want. 6 and 4 are 2 apart, just like this is 2. And I have to be careful. I have to decide which one's going to be the negative and which one's going to be the positive. Since the 2 in the middle is negative, I want my bigger number to be negative. I kind of want the negatives to win if you think of it like that. So I get x plus 4 and x minus 6. Now, again, I stick my, and you got to be careful, it's the 3 that comes down, not the 2. Like that. X plus 4/3, that's already reduced as far as we can go, so I'm just going to rewrite it again. And then x minus, this would be 2. So it's kind of a weird situation here, but we don't have a number over here to bring over. It's if anything, it's a 1. Let me change my color here. So I'm going to circle this right here. That comes up. So nothing really happens. I could have just left it x minus 2 because 1x minus 2 is the same thing. But here the 3 comes over and it becomes 3x plus 4. And this stays x minus 2. And again, I'm going to show you one more time how to check it, just because I think it's worthwhile and a very important step for you. It's something they will never ask you to do in a test. They just don't ask you to check your own work. That's something we as teachers ask you to do, and something we hope that you do, and something that I always did when I was a kid because I got pumped up for Regencies, and I did not like leaving that room not knowing if I was right or wrong. I was okay knowing I was wrong, but I couldn't stand not knowing, even if I could have had 100, I could have had a 50, I don't know. So I had to know, and this was one way you could know. So 3 times x is 3x squared, 4 times x is 4x, negative 6x, and then a negative 8. Now remember, we're not getting back to the original problem here. We're getting back to this. So in the end, we can multiply by 2 and just to get back to the original, but I know I did that part right. I know I did the GCF part right. That was easy. So here we go, 3x squared. This is the peanut part. Negative 6 and positive 4 make negative 2x, and then negative 8. And it looks like we did it right. So that one had a couple little oddities in it, but it worked out the same way, the same exact process. So again, if you didn't do it already, I would write in your notes somewhere a bulleted process. Start by saying, can I GCF That's a good place to start because that's always the first thing you do. Maybe the next step is take off first coefficient. All right, I'm not going to write the whole list for you, but something that I'll be looking for when you come in with your notes is that nice little list of steps that you have thought through, and it's going to make you a better person. Just a better person overall. Bet you didn't think you could be a better person, but you can. Have a wonderful night.